Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. I get to have my friend Tiffany Bulgin on the podcast. Did I say your last name right? Tiffany
You did.
Bulgin. I
You did. It's a
did.
soft G,
Yeah.
not
Okay,
Bulgin,
good.
as it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just want to confirm, but I'm so excited to have you on the show, Heavy Lifts, because you like encompass so many of the things that I think are great about business leaders, business owners, and just you're a good person too. So I love just being around you. You got that good energy. So I'm just excited to have you on.
Feelings
We got a
mutual.
thank you. And I
Yep.
think we've got just to set the tone here. Well, for you, you are a small business owner. You own Isaac's,
We are,
which is
I'm a nonprofit founder.
uh,
Just to clarify,
right,
because I
right.
don't actually own Isaac's, but
Sorry,
yes,
yes,
my life
but
looks like that. But yes,
it
just
is,
we founded the nonprofit that runs Isaac's and Ikebox. Yeah.
and
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 that's my
and
job.
just that, and that is you have what? How many employees do you have?
52 right now.
52. So not really a small business, right?
No.
I've got a small business. I have about 5 employees, and that's I consider that a smaller business. But you have a larger, more robust business, and I love how you said that. You don't own it. You are a founder. I love that. Um,
Hmm.
in just watching, interacting with you in downtown Salem has been just like so fun to just get to know your business more, get to know you more. You said something really interesting about soccer and the connection you have with soccer. Let's dive into that. How has soccer shaped your life?
Boy. So I grew up in San Diego. So started playing when I was about 5. Uh, Left the sport at like age 7 for ballet, actually. My mom really wanted me
For
in ballet.
ballet.
Yeah, so I went to like a Russian ballet school, super strict. Like she would hit the floor with her cane. And I mean, it was crazy. And I did strict ballet for about 4 years. And then about 10 or 11, I was getting on toe shoes, like, and I was having to go 5 days a week. And I was just like, I want to be back on the grass. And that was when we were playing on grass,
Yep.
back
Yep.
when.
Hmm.
But I was like, I miss soccer a lot. So I quit ballet, which, you know, sometimes I wish I could have balanced the two. I know it gave me a great, foundation for movement and strength. But I went
Hmm.
back to soccer about age 11. And I'm telling you,
Okay.
soccer was my passion, was my love, was where I found such lifelong friendships. My high school team, we won CIF championships, and we back then our club team was just my high school team.
Oh
So we
yeah.
actually traveled as a club team from high school, and we traveled in the summer. We do fundraisers to go. We went to Maryland. We went to an international tournament in Colorado, where we actually got to the quarterfinals in a international tournament with just our high school team.
Wait, where did you
Um,
go in Colorado? What do you remember? What city you played in?
we were in where's the Air Force Academy?
Yeah, Colorado Springs. You probably
We were in
played in
Colorado
the
Springs.
You probably played in
Yes,
the Front Range Invitational Tournament. That was a tournament I grew up playing in.
probably. And
Yeah.
it
Oh,
was an
that's
international
cool. Yep.
international
Yep.
tournament. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I played in that in the 80s. So,
That
like
was
late 80s.
yeah. And you won it. Your team won it.
No. We got to the
Oh,
quarters, but
quarters.
it was
Okay.
the thing about it was just our high school team
Yeah.
that
Okay. I
was playing
gotcha.
as a club team. So
Yeah.
nowadays that just, you maybe get 2 or 3 of your high school teammates on a club team.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I played all the way through. Long story short, I ended up playing tennis in college
Okay.
at Point Loma.
Okay.
We didn't have a women's soccer team there then. So
Hmm.
I was going to play either up at Westmont or at a small Division 1 school in San Diego, but I wanted to go to Point Loma. So I ended up playing tennis. Got a
Hmm.
scholarship my last couple years. And then, I moved to Oregon where tennis is only inside, and I left tennis and went back to soccer and I've had, I mean, Tracy Holsteg and I
Yeah.
played for 20 years together, and played just adult league, but in
Yep.
Portland, and stayed pretty
Yep.
competitive, up in the top
Hmm.
divisions until COVID, really.
Hmm. Hmm.
So indoor, outdoor, co-ed, traveled with a co-ed outdoor team in my late 20s. But soccer taught me my work ethic, how to sacrifice for others. it taught me, my parents both divorced several times. And so, like, my coaches and my mentors that I had through soccer really, I believe, also was a huge part of the confidence that I went into young adulthood with, was because of the way the coaches poured into me as a young female athlete. Um, it it is still my favorite game. It is still my favorite sport. I love watching. I really miss playing. But there's something about the beauty of a, and you know better than anyone, but I was a midfielder and before the numbers were assigned too much, but I was a winger and I the beauty of the movement and the off-ball movement and the support and the communication and everything has really informed so much about the way I run a coffee shop floor. And so
Hmm.
much about the way I parent, and so much. I mean, soccer to me truly is the beautiful game, and I know in this country it's a little bit harder sell because of
Hmm.
the lack of scoring. But I tell people all the time I can watch a nil-nil game and be completely in the whole time, you know. And a lot of
Hmm.
people that haven't played it don't really understand that
Yeah.
that's the case. But yeah, from my mentors to my lifelong friends to just my work ethic and challenging myself. Like I had a Brazilian assistant coach in high school, and his name was Hugo, and he would run with us. But we always had to bring our running shoes
Hmm.
to practice, and we would usually do 4 to 6 miles. You know, mostly preseason, but
Hmm.
and I remember one day where I felt like I didn't think I could finish. And I said, Hugo, I think I need to stop. And he said, Tiffany, he said, you will throw up before you pass out, and you will pass out before you die. And I finished. I that day I
It's
pushed through and finished. And that quote, I've used it many times on my own workouts and my own situations with other people. Like just the ability to push through challenges is like probably one of the biggest things.
and Brazilians aren't necessarily well known for their fitness either, which
No,
is
which is
is really interesting
surprising.
that that would be the the assistant coach that got you across the finish line. But
Yeah.
yeah, I felt like growing up in the States that like when you like when you played soccer, it was a different language that you spoke, right? It
Yep.
was because not everybody understood it. It wasn't as accepted as it's more accepted now than it was,
Right.
in the 80s, 90s. And
Right.
it was, you felt like you were, once you were with your team, were you with a group who understood the game? It was like you were part of just like a community that was all on its own. And I love, I mean,
Yeah.
I love that you grew up in San Diego, was like a melting pot of just great, great soccer players, and you can play all the time. And
Yep.
one thing I will say, Point Loma, and
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about this. My One of my best friends, Justin Metris, he went to school there at Point Loma.
Mm-hmm.
We visited there last year with him and his family, just to see, because he always talks about how unbelievably gorgeous it was, right? And you go there, you're just
Now you
like,
know.
yeah. I was like, and I like how you stayed focused with that
Yeah.
beach right there and that surf. And
Yeah.
I will never understand. But what was that like? So you played tennis at Point Loma, not soccer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't play tennis growing up. So this is a funny story. My
Yeah.
freshman year at Point Loma, I was an athletic training major, so you had to take all the sports and PE as a
Mhm.
coaching methods, but they always made you learn all the rules. And I had watched tennis growing up, but I just didn't play. And I took tennis my spring term of my freshman year, and the tennis coach was the teacher. And I got
Yeah.
an A, but he wasn't recruiting or anything. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah.
like he said, "Hey, you should come out." Well, that summer I decided I'm tired of not competing. And I had been running a lot. I ran with the cross country team for fun. I was just needing something. And my boyfriend at the time was a baseball player at Point Loma, but he also played tennis recreationally. And then my young life leader in high school was a tennis coach. So in
Okay.
that summer, I recruited my young life leader to do some lessons. And then my mom helped me join a club. And I literally played tennis that summer. And then I went back
Okay.
into the office of the tennis coach my sophomore year and said, "Hey, I'm going to come out for the team." And,
Hmm.
he kind of said, "Okay." that, here's the schedule. And I
Yeah.
made the team. I made doubles, and then we went to nationals my first year ever playing as a team. We
Wow.
won the section and then went to nationals. And so there I was at nationals for tennis within like a year of starting to play the sport. And I play I won, me and my partner won a round. I was only playing doubles at the time, but by the time I ended at Point Loma, I was playing number three singles, and uh, developed a lifelong love. Now I play a lot of
Yeah.
tennis, and
Yeah.
Mark and I actually can play, and we're pretty even. Like,
Really.
well, if he were here, he'd say
You say he
even.
was better. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
so yeah, we play a
No.
lot of tennis now.
So
So
you must have been, yeah. So you obviously got an athletic background. You can play multiple different sports. What did? But what I'm curious, what brought you then? From San Diego, then up to Oregon and into Salem. Like, how did you end up
yeah,
from the San Diego coast all the way up
yeah.
here?
I always say Mark caught me at a weak moment. I joke that. So Mark and I started dating my senior year at Point Loma, and
Okay.
He was from Salem, and he knew he was coming back. And I had looked at U of O for grad school right before he and I started dating, because I have
Oh,
family in Washington, and I thought maybe I should go somewhere else for grad school,
and
not
what were you
thinking I would
majoring in?
leave.
Yeah, what were you majoring in?
Exercise physiology.
That's right.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I went to U of O and visited over Christmas, and was looking at their program, and then Mark and I started dating in January. And anyway, that it's a long story, but I didn't end up going to U of O, but I did end up moving here. We made a promise to each other that if I moved here, it wasn't for him,
Mm-hmm.
because we weren't engaged or anything yet.
Okay.
But we joke now that we knew that that's probably where it was headed. So that's what
Yeah.
brought me to Salem, and here I still am. And now my oldest lives in San Diego, and he always says, "Mom, I don't understand." I don't understand. I go, I know. And I love Oregon. I really, really do. But yeah,
Yeah.
San Diego is paradise. It really is. It's
Yeah.
I mean, community in Salem is one of the things that especially now I can't imagine leaving. There's other places, and we could name several, that have a lot
Mm-hmm.
more, well, the weather obviously, or a lot more recreation, or a lot more to do, or a
Mm-hmm.
lot, might be a little higher on the cool meter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like in some of those places, people are chasing something outside of themselves. And I feel like in Salem, if you decide to stay and commit, you're really committed to relationship with people. Like, that is
Mm-hmm.
why, because
Mm-hmm.
that is what keeps us here, is
Mm-hmm.
just that deep sense of community and care and relationship with people that I often find. And I don't want to talk bad about anywhere else, because
Yeah.
I actually love visiting a lot of these places, but
Yeah.
I do think that it has a different feel when there's a lot of people moving in and out and kind of looking for something. And here I just feel
Mm-hmm.
like if you're going to stay here, you're committed to this
Yeah.
community, and you can feel that.
That, and that's interesting you bring it up, because I think it speaks to the consistency of the community as
Hmm.
well. When you don't have that kind of transient type of a population coming in, coming out, people who are sticking here for the long haul. You marry that with like the fact that the government, the state government, is a big part of the economy here, right?
Right.
And those are like usually pretty consistent jobs.
Yep.
What did so when you moved up here, what year was that?
1993.
Okay, were you just fresh out of college, or did you take a few years
Fresh out of
before?
college.
Okay, so
No,
you moved up
fresh out
here.
of college.
All right, and
Yeah.
what were the job expectations for
Yeah.
you and Mark? Going coming straight out
Yeah.
of Point Loma.
So Mark was a lit major, so he likes to say it prepares you for
That's right.
everything but qualifies you for nothing. That's right. So teaching and coaching was kind of on his, but he didn't have his teaching credentials yet. So I started coaching and working at South Salem High School,
Okay,
coaching soccer,
coaching
and
soccer. Okay.
and just being an instructional assistant. And then I started working. Mark and I actually both started working together for Gold Gym, um, that was downtown
Really?
Salem.
Okay.
Um,
Where was that? What was that
Mark,
located at?
so that was at 155 Liberty. So it was
Oh,
where the Frozation and the bakery and like that whole building,
yeah.
um, the whole main floor, the downstairs, and there was a mezzanine. Yeah, it was amazing.
Okay. Okay.
And then we expanded to South Salem and then Albany. But
Okay.
I ended up working for them for about 10, 11 years, actually, as a personal trainer and a director
Wow.
of a program called Apex, which
Okay.
is a 12-week fitness that you do one-on-one, where it's all your food intake, all your workouts, your supplementation. And usually most people in that program in 12 weeks, the goal is to lose about 6% body fat. So that was my
Sure.
job.
Wow.
That was what I did. So um, yeah, but way early on in that is kind of where Isaac's Room kind of started while I was still involved in that.
What were your takeaways from that part of your life and those teaching moments?
Wow, I could talk for hours on that. As you're in your young 20s and you have dreams, like I thought I wanted to go into corporate fitness. That was a big thing in the early 90s. Big corporations started hiring people to have fitness programs for their people. I
Sure.
dabbled in physical therapy. I was just trying to figure out like where should I teach middle school PE? Like
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be in that arena, but when I got to work the way I did at Gold's Gym, and it's a huge testament to the owners who were super committed to education and wanting to retain their members. They spent a lot of time and energy and money in me, continuing my education and all of that. And I feel like when you can finally get teaching somebody one on one that is very interested in change, it I really, really enjoyed that environment. That doesn't mean that they were confident that they could do it on their own, or doesn't mean that I got a lot of people that had never been in a gym before. So that's also one of my favorite things was just helping them understand the importance of health and fitness and that not everybody's staring at them when they walk in. And
Mhm.
by the time they got done working with me, they owned the place. They
Yeah.
exercise had become a part. But I love to teach people that genetics plays a huge role in your body, number one.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, number two, there are no quick fixes. If there were, we would all be doing the same one.
Hmm. No
5,000
silver
diets
bullets.
registered.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
no, there isn't. And if you see it work for somebody, something worked for somebody, that's because it worked for them right then. But
Yeah.
I loved Apex because Apex taught a very balanced, um, not going into too much of a calorie deficit, but eating for the long haul, not doing any dieting, um, and really incorporating the exercise, but teaching them that, okay, how long did it take you to get where you are? You say you
Yeah.
want to lose 30 pounds. Well, how
Yeah.
long ago were you 30 pounds lighter than you are
Hmm.
today? Oh, like
Hmm.
10 years. Okay.
Ooh,
Then you
it's a great way
then
to
you
put
need
it,
to
isn't it?
then you
Yeah.
need to at least give yourself a year to lose some weight. Like if this doesn't work, if you haven't lost any weight in 3 months, you got to give yourself some time. And then one more thing that I always loved, this is a little fitness thing, is that the scale is just the measure of our gravitational pull to the earth. Okay.
Sure.
It does not actually say what we look like or feel like. But
Mm-hmm.
some people get super attached to that number. When if I lined up five people that are 5'9" and 170 pounds, they all would probably look very, very different, right? So it is
Sure.
about body composition. And I had a 5 pound fat model on my desk that was, really big. And then I had a 5 pound muscle model and it took up about a third of the space.
Mhm.
And so people like to say muscle weighs more than fat. That's not true. A pound of muscle is a pound, and a pound of fat is a pound of fat. It's the amount
Yeah.
of room it takes up in your body, right?
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah.
understanding that if you start exercising and eating better and you're gaining muscle, that scale probably isn't going to be your best friend. But your pants fitting looser, walking taller, advancing your health are all signs that you're getting healthier and probably looking different. Like I said, I could go forever, but those are
I
some of
love
my
it.
favorite things that are part of the misconceptions I feel in changing your body or getting healthy.
Love what you said about, well, how long ago were you in the best shape you wanted to be, right? If it was that long ago,
Hmm.
just understand, get your mind wrapped around there's a journey ahead. and it's going to take
Yeah.
some time. We need to commit to
Yeah.
that journey. And I
Americans
think,
are definitely quick fix people, and
oh, we are.
yeah.
We want to have it right here, right now. Get it out to us.
Hmm.
Let's see the results. Whereas, and it's just numbers, right? We want to see like data and numbers, and it's like there's a holistic approach that you need to take, and
Right.
you need to step back,
Right.
and
Right.
that, I mean, that must have served you then in your business life. Like, so,
Mark was teaching English and coaching basketball,
okay,
and a kid came out of a youth correctional facility that needed a place to live that Mark's family knew when he was little. And so we got certified and took him into our 2 bedroom apartment while I was
wow,
at Gold's Full. I was 23, 24, and
oh my
Mark
gosh,
was
okay,
24, 25, and
uh-huh,
he was 15. And that started us into a world of understanding parole probation teenagers.
mhm,
The organization that we got certified through wanted us to keep taking more kids. We both loved our jobs, and um, so we took a couple over a couple years, but we just kept thinking, man, if Mark walked away from these boys he was coaching high school basketball, they'd all still be fine. Like, they've got investment, they've got community. Even though he was doing a great job, these boys that were coming in and out of our house those first couple years just had nothing. So Mark quit his job. I was still working when I was pregnant with our first when our pregnant with our first kid. He quit his job to do parole, probation, foster care full time.
wow,
So we got out of an apartment and got into a little house, little starter house, and then our first son was born with a heart defect, and we spent 2.5 months in Portland at the Ronald McDonald House, and he ended up dying from complications from his heart surgery. But Mark had, quit his job. And one of the beauties of that was Mark was there the whole time. Neither of us were employed, but we both got to spend every day with Isaac. And I'm still super, super grateful for that because Isaac was born the week before basketball tryouts. So that would have been rough even if he was healthy. But the fact that Mark had already made the decision to leave coaching, that was amazing.
mhm,
So that's how we move towards what you now see
yeah,
as Isaac's and
yeah,
Ike boxes. When Isaac died, we jumped head in into taking parole probation boys and starting a nonprofit. We had boys living with us when we went to have Isaac,
yeah,
and they got sent to a backup home and were there for 2 months. So even though Isaac
oh wow,
died and we were
yeah,
moving from our little house to a bigger house to take more boys, we had to bring them
hmm,
back in pretty shortly, and a new kid moved in.
hmm,
So we did everything that
wow.
they tell you not to do when you lose a child. we They do. They say, the divorce rate when you lose a child is upper
Yeah,
80s, low 90% actually. It's
wow,
super high. And
wow,
so they give you a lot of material and advice, and here are the things not to do within the first year. And
yeah,
we pretty much broke all of that. But it was because we were already on a path and had a vision for these boys, um, getting community around them. And honestly, when people wanted to donate, when Isaac
mm,
died, they're like, where can we donate? We had a fund set up at a church we were attending, and someday we would have a ranch. That was our goal.
okay,
And so, yeah, so that's how it started. So that was Isaac died at the end of 98.
yep.
And so that was in 99 when we actually got incorporated as Isaac's Room.
Okay, I gotcha. So you had the vision, you knew what you wanted to do, you have this incredibly devastating moment, and then you're like, I mean, the thing that always, I've heard your story so many times, and every time I hear it, I get emotional, right? And I just thinking about what you guys must have like just gone through and what you have created, since then. What were the hardest parts of coming out of that,
Hmm.
those months after his death?
It's interesting. This is the time he was alive. So he was born October 23rd and he died December 29th. So this time of year, even now, he would be 27, but I don't know. I get more connected to it this time of the year. But
Mhm.
the hardest parts were not wanting to live. That's number one. Or I shouldn't say it that way. I should say I didn't care as much. I couldn't find a reason to care for a little while. Mark would say, buckle your seatbelt. And I would literally say, why? Like, so that's the extreme side of the grief there. Couldn't, uh, it was such a whirlwind, and we had so much support. I really believe that's what carried us through, but I literally didn't have a moment to just be still and really decide how I felt or what I wanted to do. We were moving into a new house. Boys were coming back in, and you say, what was the most difficult things? I think just the emotional side of the grief as a mom, because and I'll say this, I don't think it's TMI, but what people never talk about when a woman loses a child that young is that your body is still doing the things that you do as a
Mm,
mother.
yeah.
And so it's hard enough to recover after having a baby, with the baby there. It's a
Yeah.
lot harder to be dealing with all those things, without the baby. What I was going to say is, even though emotionally it was so hard, I think throwing ourselves into something that we really had a purpose and a vision for prior to Isaac's birth and death gave each day like a lot of purpose. And those boys, like, I mean, I had to make meals every day. I had to take them to school. I mean, I was a mom all of a sudden, but with
Yeah.
teenagers that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Those early guys, especially the ones that were living with us during my pregnancy, they actually had some grief too.
Mm.
So they were very sweet, and we had a dog, so that was good. I think they really, loved having the dog around. Yeah, I think we just believed so much in the vision we had that we were able to put one foot in front of the other, along with all of our family and all of our friends that surrounded us, to just keep going that way. It just felt even more and more that this is what we're supposed to be doing, because Isaac crystallized it. He gave us that. We knew now what it felt like to be a parent. And even though these guys needed parents, most of them, we didn't know what that felt like when it's your kid. And now we
Yeah.
did. And that
Hmm.
really intensified our feelings for them,
Hmm.
and trying to make life better for them. And so, yeah, I think just that purpose and vision actually helped navigate some of that emotional grief. So Isaac's Room is our organization.
Yeah.
So it started in 99, and then Ikebox in 2004, and then Isaac's Downtown in
Yes.
2019. So,
Okay.
but before we did coffee, before we had a brick and mortar, you can't do foster care as a nonprofit. Like that you have to have a program. So we
Yeah.
developed, because we knew that what these guys needed, Nat, from soccer, like Mark and I learned life through sports and through competing. He was a basketball player through college,
Yeah.
and we knew that these guys had never had the opportunity to be a part of a team and learn how to fight for each other, learn how to learn a skill. It doesn't have to be sports, it can be music, it could be a first job. I mean, all these opportunities that our families generally gave us, these guys had never had that. But it was too late where they were at. They were 16 to 18 to really get them in the sports teams and get, all
Hmm.
that. So we're like, we need to find a skill that we can teach them, develop some
Uh,
challenging things that they can get through. And we did video production. We remodeled a
oh.
inside of a trailer. Mark's really good childhood friend, Rex Robertson, who was the founder of Cozy Taberna, and
Yeah.
him and his wife own Little Lois.
Yep.
He actually didn't work for about a year and helped us start Isaac's Room.
Really?
Helped remodel a trailer because he was really into computers and video. And this is
Okay.
before iPhone. This is before YouTube. And so
Yeah.
we would take a trailer to skate parks and let kids video themselves, and then come in and learn Final Cut Pro and how to edit video. And we wanted to find places where we could meet kids that weren't in the judicial system yet, that
Uh-huh.
still needed that mentoring, skill building
Hmm.
experience. And then early on, we got connected with the school district. They loved us. We moved into the Willamette Valley Bank building on the fourth floor, and we had after
Okay.
school classes where the kids could actually get credit for our media classes.
Okay.
The head videographer in the governor's office today is a product of Ike Media.
Really? No
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
That is so
yeah.
cool. What a cool
So
note.
that's how we started, was in media. And
Okay.
then,
Yeah. And
um,
wait. And what the videos you were shooting, they were of skate
yeah,
parks and just kids
well,
doing,
just kids yeah, we would go to
yeah.
places where kids hung out and
Yeah.
let them video, and then
And
come in
they
the
would be the
trailer and learn
ones.
how to
Yeah.
video. We
Hmm.
also tried to get professional jobs to pay the bills. So
Yeah.
Rex, got the city of Kaiser contract, so he filmed all of their city council meetings. We got some professional jobs, and he would take kids with him
Okay.
to learn,
Hmm.
and that's what paid the bills. So
I
yeah.
gotcha. Very
So
cool.
social
Very cool.
enterprise is
Yeah.
doing a skill, doing something for the community that you can earn money,
Hmm.
and then that money can help support training the kids, you know? And
Yeah.
so after we got in the Ike box, which is a whole nother story that involves the SWAT team thinking there was a gun in the bank.
Oh boy.
We were filming, and one of our professional guys carried a machine, military replica across the parking lot into the Willamette Valley Bank building,
Oh
and somebody
no.
in the bank called 911 and said there was a gun.
No, no.
And so, yeah, so we're talking the whole block shut down, SWAT, 4x4 evacuation. Mark had a gun pointed at him by the SWAT team. Yeah, it was.
Oh
So Willamette
gosh.
Valley Bank understandably thought maybe this isn't the best place for you guys. So we got the Ike box, and then within a couple years of getting the Ike box, we changed from video production to coffee
Okay, gotcha.
as our skill
Sure.
development.
What
Yeah.
and what, I mean, what led to that kind of just shift in going from video production, to serving coffee? That's two different, completely different ends of the spectrum, right? But probably some
Yeah.
service related
So
stuff there.
so we got that building and we moved upstairs to do the video classes. So then we had that
Okay.
beautiful ballroom and the downstairs, and it was a mess at the time. We did a lot of work to get it, but we envisioned kids coming to play music, and we had art, and so we had live music in that building from 2004 till about 2009 every weekend.
Okay.
So it became an all ages concert venue, and we had this little tiny counter that was basically a snack shop. I mean, we had an icy machine. Remember the icy machines?
Of course,
Like
yeah. Yeah.
swirly ice machines. And we
Uh-huh.
had top ramen, and we had chips, and
Yeah.
and then Rex thought we should put coffee in here and be open during the day.
Hmm.
And basically it's Rex who started the coffee shop. Um,
Okay.
I wasn't even working there.
Oh
I had to
wow.
get
Okay.
hired. Yeah, I had to get hired, and almost didn't, honestly. Actually, it's a hilarious story, but yeah. So we decided, with the iPhone coming in, and some of those things, and then also our Rex actually moved to Arizona, and the video side of things were really not mine and Mark's forte. Um, and we got really excited about the understanding that hospitality is really a skill that we know that we can teach, and something that provides a service to the community that brings the kids in relationship with all these people. And the location of the Ike Box specifically before COVID, it was you had the state capitol, we had the Statesman Journal still printing next door. We
Hmm.
had lots of churches, attorneys, the title play, Amerititle. We had all these people, including senators, and that would come to the Ike box all the time. And so
Yeah.
these
It's a
kids
great
are now
location, isn't it?
interacting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now these kids are interacting with community leaders and pastors
Sure.
and reporters.
Yeah.
And it was huge. A huge part of our program is putting them in person A situations. I think you've heard me talk about that. But the
Okay.
coffee shop really that one coffee shop became our main engine for our program. So our kids that got involved in our program, we were there at the Ike box together. That really had some magic to it. We're learning now with having two locations, that it was really a magic time to all be in the same location, and but it
Yeah.
wasn't enough jobs. It wasn't enough jobs. But by the time they get to a shop or to the bakery or to the kitchen, they've already done a lot of learning. And that's what's really
Okay.
helpful is we have our 4-week training camp is what they start with. And
Good.
I think they run a mile on the roof of the Y the first day they're with us, because obviously our
Yep.
program is going to have exercise and fitness as
It
part of
has to. If
the
you're working
plan.
with Tiffany.
So
Yep.
yeah, and Mark. So the first 4 weeks
Yep.
is workout, class, and then dinner.
Okay.
And they do that 3 days a week together for 4 weeks. So they kind of
Awesome.
bond, and they kind of get that team concept. And food is magic. A lot of them have never really
Yeah.
had family dinners, sat around a dinner table. Mark
It
usually
is.
asks questions around the dinner table and gets them sharing. And by the time they're
Mhm.
into their 3rd week, they're kind of opening up. And it's a huge part of our process. And then when they finish training camp, they actually do service learning. So we team
Okay.
up. We have a service
Yeah.
learning coordinator, Jade, and she teams up with different nonprofits and also the city. Like we do a lot of tree planting with the city. We do community garden stuff. And so the kids go right from training camp into service learning. So, but those concepts really get them prepared for when they get to the job, which is about like 2.5 months in,
Okay.
is when they finally come to the job. You look at Isaacs and you look at Ikebox and you talk about quality and you talk about what people expect and you talk about the level of service and speed. Very few of these youth would I be hiring off the street to work in
Yeah.
either of these locations, as far
So,
as
yeah.
experience and
Yeah.
customer service and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So in our organization, we do have employees we hire from the outside. They are the mentors, they are the managers. Although our kids can eventually get there. We have the bakery managers, a previous youth. We have kids in leadership now. But do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? The only people we hire from the outside are people that can come in and actually lead. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that want their 18-year-old to work for me, or 17 to get their first
Mm-hmm.
job. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of coffee shops do that. Like that's where you go. But
Yeah.
ours is not that way. If you're between the ages of 16 and 20 and don't have a lot of job experience, you actually need to go through IQuest to get a job with us. If you're
Oh,
23, 24 and you've been in the industry for a while and you know how to teach and you're confident and all that, then you can come help with the training. But the training is heavy.
mm-hmm.
And I'll just transition a little bit into running a business like this. Back in 2016, 17, Ikebox itself was providing about 30% of our overall nonprofit budget.
Mm-hmm.
So that's beyond paying people.
Mm-hmm.
The margins have gotten so small in this industry now that even with the two locations, we're not seeing those returns. So we're having to rely a lot more on grant funding to run
Yeah.
our program and
Yep.
donations from people and businesses. We are able to run, mostly in the black, but really COVID, especially at Ikebox, really knocked it out. Having state workers not come back has really
Mm.
been tough for that area of town.
Yeah.
And even the ones now that are on hybrid, we don't have the daily. We're kind of living for the session. When the session comes in, we get pretty busy. Um, but yeah, that's been really tough. So the margins in this industry have shrunk so much, especially post COVID, um, that not only is it hard to make a living at it, but it keeps me super engaged in the business. Like to have a business our size and actually have somebody else fully running it,
Yeah.
you couldn't afford to pay me and that person in this culture of coffee, especially now with the tariffs. And it's the margins have gotten really little, and because we're training heavy and we're therefore
Yeah.
waste heavy,
Mm-hmm.
it's tough.
It's
It's
yeah.
tough. I love it though. And I go back to my upbringing
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to work really hard.
For your business, like to get back to where it was, like, is it just like quantity, any more foot traffic downtown? Like what would need to change, do you think, to kind of get it back to where it was?
Yeah, for the Ike box, we just kind of hoped that when people started coming back to work that it would kind of return. So, for the Ike box, it's tough. We've never had parking at the Ike box, so the whole downtown paid parking thing
Yeah,
doesn't
that's right.
change at the Ike box because
Yeah.
there's always been meters there. So
Yeah.
parking's really not an issue at that one. At Isaac's, we have grown nonstop since we opened in 2019, besides the first 3 months of COVID. We have grown nonstop. And the last couple months, or the first 2 months, where I can honestly say we're at a kind of a standstill over last year. And I do believe that, yes, more foot traffic. I think paid parking, in my opinion, is a good idea overall, and I think it will be good in the long run. But I
Yeah.
do think Salem's always been a tough sell on anything new,
Hmm.
and for some reason they haven't ever been great with parking in the parkades and walking a block. Every time I talk to anybody, they don't know this, but in those parking meters, if you don't use the app and you go to the machine, you can pay change. You can put change in there and pay less than $1.50. So you can go in, you can pay 50 cents and be in somewhere for 20 minutes. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't know that. One of the owners of
Hmm.
another local business didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that out there because especially for
Yeah. Bring
businesses like
some. Yeah.
ours, where there are people that want to come in and get, I had a regular paying $1.50 every day to come and get his drink
Mm-hmm.
because that's all he's doing is coming in and
Yeah.
out. And I said, oh,
Yeah.
now he pays a quarter.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. It's just
it takes a
smart. That's
little more
smart. Yeah.
time
Yeah.
but I just wanted everybody to know that. So yeah, more
Yeah.
foot traffic. I think we're doing a good job of creating more events and more energy downtown. And I think continuing to market Salem as being in the heart of the Willamette Valley and being within an hour of hundreds of wineries and
Yep.
the beach and hikes and all of it,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think
Mm-hmm.
continuing to let people know that people are concerned about safety and they're concerned about houselessness and mostly those are the big things. And I just believe that this paid parking is going to really help with cleanliness. And I also am so fired up about the partnership with our fire department and Marion
Mm-hmm.
County for the
Mm-hmm.
mental health response team.
Yeah.
I can just see it happening. I see people, I see less of all of that downtown. And honestly, I think because I've worked down there now for 30 years, if you include Gold's Gym, I feel like I have a vested interest and ownership of what it feels like down there. And I do think that social media and COVID and some things have not done us well as far as the way people talk without even really having their own experiences. Or if there's one bad experience and it gets pumped out on social media, then
Yeah.
it becomes fuel for people to not try it themselves. And,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I think the cleanliness is obviously already better. I think safety's better. The parkades are better. I've parked in that parkade for years and years and years, and there was a period of time. I've never had my car broken into for 30 years, so I'll just say that. But there was a period of time where it felt like there wasn't as much security. Some cars were getting broken into, and the stairways were maybe not as clean, and they might have been
Yeah.
occupied more
Yeah.
often. I'm not
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's doing a lot lot better. Can I say
Oh,
thank you
you're welcome.
to
I
you?
I I feel
I'm
like
super
I
I'm
haven't done.
super grateful to no, hey, stop. I'm super grateful for your chosen investment in Salem. And you chose it. You guys don't, you haven't lived down here.
Yeah.
You chose Salem and I know there was business interest in it, but you have
Mm-hmm.
proven that it goes, like you said, it goes way beyond, your own personal gain. It goes into helping develop community. Through a party for Isaac's Room
Mm-hmm.
this year,
Yeah.
you have shown that you're in. And we've needed that now. We really have. And I will say real quickly, when we were looking for a second location, one of the most discouraging thing was a lot of the buildings downtown were owned by generational owners that are no longer near here at all. And their
Yeah.
kids owned it and they got little checks and they just had no real interest in changing the use of the building or doing TIs or, anything. And I really learned a lot in that process that I really want Salem to have that changeover where the buildings are then being owned by people that are actually locally invested. And I think that's really a huge help. And so you and a few others, Charles
Yeah.
and Chris and, AJ, and
Yeah.
it's just really been encouraging to somebody who's been downtown for so long.
No, I
Yeah,
really
I really
appreciate you
I
saying that.
appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. No, and I appreciate you say that. I know, I don't know if I chose Salem as much as Salem seems to have chosen me. I get inspired by people like yourself who've taken big risks. The whole reason for Heavy Lifts is really, to talk about AJ and I started the show really to talk about and highlight people who take risks and are willing to like put themselves out there and not necessarily for financial gain, and a lot of times
Right.
it maybe doesn't work out, and you learn something, you keep going and growing. It's just so interesting to hear the stories, to your stories. So like I feel a lot of my reason for being here is people like yourself who have
Oh.
been there, you've done that. February of last year, and it was because Chris and AJ we're in front of a room of investors like myself talking about changing downtown. And what they said that struck me was they mentioned like three different buildings, and they were like, Salem Center used to be owned by somebody out of state, out of the
Yeah.
country.
Right.
Now it's owned by Kelly, Patrick, and
Local.
Mark, right? Local.
Right.
Talk about the Forge, same kind of thing. And it was like you just started getting inspired because it's like we're local, we're here, we're Oregonians, and we care about our products, right? And you're not going to
Right.
get the same kind of like passion from
Right.
an
Mm-mm.
investor who's just not here. I mean, I bought 45th Parallel Building from a guy who was
Yep.
based in San
Yeah.
Francisco,
Yep.
and this just wasn't his priority, and he would tell you
Right.
that if he were on,
Totally.
one of I think one of the best things you can be as an owner of something is to be active, right, and to be involved,
Right.
and
For sure.
and parties. Let's talk about parties. Like,
Yeah.
I think, the more people we bring downtown and we engage to come downtown, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's, our event space, Cellar 54, and throwing parties, or it's, Isaac's throwing parties,
The
right?
Grand is throwing parties
The
like
Grand
they're,
Elsinore, like, just like
hmm.
getting people like Jacob Espinoza to just be like,
Yeah.
where's the party? Let's go, and leading the charge. Like,
Yeah.
that's so exciting for our downtown and for
Yeah.
our community, because then we get to meet more people who are like-minded, and we get to continue to kind of just like, connect people, right? And
Right.
engage people. And so that's what I'm most excited about moving forward. I'm curious with, we're starting to wrap up, like with Isaac's Room, like Ike Box, like where do you see yourself headed, now that you've had all this experience and all this time, and you're kind of back
Yeah.
in the business right now temporarily, with your manager being out, like where are you
Right.
headed?
It's a good question, Nat. There's opportunities for expansion and growth in different areas. Mark and I are thinking about, you talk about risk. We're good risk takers. And I laugh because we laugh now at when people come to ask us about how to start a nonprofit. We go, "Oh, you don't want to start the way we did." So we're not great at counting the cost, um, which for better or for worse, here we are, and we have a rich life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's opportunities. Mark is feeling, that original ranch idea. We say that we have an urban ranch because we do have two houses just east of downtown that our
Hmm.
youth can be residents of. It's another part of our thing. So I said we have coffee instead of cows, and we have an urban ranch. But I think there's an element to some of the youth that we work with, especially the parole probation boys that started us, where getting away and getting outside of the community for a while would really benefit their eventual progress than being still in the same place where they find the trouble. So
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Okay.
We love what we've done in coffee. We have opportunities. It's just a matter of development and kind of watching the market and watching how things are going. Like I said earlier, you do a lot of work for a really small margin, and so it's just a matter of how we can develop our team and leadership if we ever wanted to expand another one. There's that. And then,
Mhm.
I have my first grandchild. He's going to turn a year next week, and I'm when you say where do you want to be, I want to be with him all the time.
Of course.
But
Understandable.
but no, I think Isaac's Room, in the next 10 years, we have to do a lot of thinking about what's next for Isaac's
Yeah.
Room if Mark and
Yeah.
Tiffany aren't at the helm.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's a community organization, and
Yeah.
we own some property and we have a lot of good things going, but there's a lot of thought that needs to be done. But yeah, we'll see. We think we have a good 10 to 15 years in us. So
From myself and everybody who's been involved with Isaac's Room, we're grateful to you and to what you provide the community, the energy you bring, and just giving, I think, people a place to land, whether it's a youth who need training and experience, or it's just somebody like myself who wants just a place to go that's friendly. A way to find you guys that you would like everybody, our listeners, to know.
yeah, I mean, really, anytime, being a customer of ours is probably one of the easiest ways, the entry level
Yeah.
ways to help Isaac's Room and our kids grow.
Yeah.
I think lately, we have quite a bit of meetings rooms at Ikebox that you can go on to ikebox.com and they're under space, and you can learn about how to plan meetings. And if you need a meeting downtown or a party downtown, we also have our ballroom. We have
Okay.
parties there tonight and tomorrow
Yeah.
night. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a fun thing. But yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. But really just, visiting us and purchasing helps the nonprofit, and getting to know our kids, watching our kids progress as you get to know one and you just watch them progress, and really encouraging them is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
Tiffany, you are definitely a heavy lifter. I appreciate you being on the show and sharing your story. And I learned a ton today, so I'm grateful and appreciate your energy and look forward to having you back on soon, I hope.